Excited to be here with both of you. I'm here with Scott Forsberg, COO of Sonomaceuticals, and Dr. Chen, CEO of Radicle Science. Pleasure to be with you guys. We're going to explore how WellVine is shaping the future of the prebiotic fiber space, all about gut health research. Let's start with you, Dr. Chen. It's really amazing what you're doing at Radicle Science. What is the vision mission here?
So the mission behind Radicle Science was, how do we create a world that is just filled with proven and personalized wellness products that are affordable and accessible to all? We're not going to get there with the current way that we create pharma drugs and the way we have this industrial healthcare complex. And we realized the way to get there was to take foods and supplements, layer on really rigorous medical data, and then be able to turn these into trusted therapies for everyone. And so that's what we're doing at Radicle Science. We're that tech and data company that is enabling this scale and quality of evidence to be generated on these products that have never really been able to obtain this type of information and data.
Well, kudos to you. Thank you for bringing buyer beware to evidence-based. We wouldn't be here with Scott Forsberg if you weren't, because I know, Scott, you are all about the evidence. Give us a bit of an overview of WellVine. What makes it unique in this prebiotic space?
So WellVine is really the first of its kind, which is a real food prebiotic with great characterization data and also the science to go behind it so that we understand how it works and what it does. Most prebiotics that are out there are actually highly refined products, right? They're purified, they're converted using enzymes and other things into very simple carbohydrate molecules, and that's all they are. They're basically pharmaceutically pure substances.
Maybe even a green drug.
In a way, if you think of it that way. I mean, they're highly purified substances, and they have very, very, very specific activities. But we know that the gut is an extremely complex environment, that it needs diversity in order to be healthy. That diversity of the microbiome in the gut is one of the best indicators of health. That means you need a diverse food source to feed that microbiome as well. So we have a natural matrix that has an incredible array of oligosaccharides, which are the kind of fiber that those bacteria need to thrive. And it's combined with the natural complement of polyphenols, which act as kind of regulatory molecules for the development of that microbiome ecosystem.
Way ahead of the game, using the postbiotic to add that additional fuel to the proverbial fertilizer to the, what they want to eat. They need more of this. They got to eat too. And I know what you're thinking. We're going to ask Scott what these studies have revealed about WellVine's impact on digestion and the microbiome to date, this partnership with Radicle Science. What is the science telling us?
So what the science tells us, first of all, we talked about diversity, right? So you need a diverse source of food because each bacteria kind of has its own preference. Not all bacteria want to eat the same thing at the same time and in the same way. We also know that the food itself acts as kind of a natural delivery system for some of these polyphenols and some of the other molecules that are there. And when you break it down and you split it up and you refine it and you highly purify it, you lose those properties. So you lose that ability to put targeted nutrition into the part of the gut where it can do the most good with the bacteria that will also do the best in your particular environment. This way, by giving them that kind of diverse food source, those bacteria can choose which of the oligosaccharides they need and want at what time, and the microbiome achieves a balance, a natural balance, not an artificially created balance that's forced by using too much of a highly purified substance.
Absolutely.
So the science is telling us that. We know that our material has that in it, and we know that it has a selective effect where it will feed the bacteria that you want and actually will not feed the bacteria you don't want.
Right.
So that selectivity is part of it, just like the diversity is part of it.
Amazing. And I heard what you said there, and it made me think, when this is happy, this is happy. We're going to get into that in a moment. But, my follow-up question to that would be ultimately the further clinical validation that you're looking for from Radicle Science, and I think what you're going to find is so crucial, and how so for particularly its marketing position. How's that going to work for you?
So one of the things we really like about the way that Radicle does its trials is that it's essentially not just a clinical trial, it's also kind of an in-home use consumer trial.
Yeah.
I mean, they're using it in a natural way that they would normally incorporate into their diet.
Yeah.
They're taking the product at home, it's part of the normal routine and part of the normal diet, and so people are using this in a real world way. So we're understanding not only how effective the product is, but how easy it is for people to use, whether or not they enjoy using it, whether or not they would recommend it to friends and do all of the things that are there. The other thing that we really like about Radicle is that the numbers in the trial are very large. We've got a trial with 5 different arms in it and a total of more than 1,200 patients or 1,200 subjects. And what that means is you're getting data across a wide variety of demographics, lots of different age ranges, lots of different ethnicities, lots of different behavioral patterns. That kind of large data approach gives us a way to understand how our product works, not only physiologically, but also behaviorally in a way you just can't replicate unless you get that large scale.
Power and outcomes. I know science doesn't like to predict as much as just run the trial and let's see what we get, but that's to you, Dr. Jeff. What do you sort of hope to see, I guess, in this next phase of research as it pertains to what you're doing with this ingredient at RadicleScience?
Well, I think it's everything that Scott said, which is we're going to be studying the health outcomes of this product. In addition to studying the gut health impacts of this product, we're also going to be looking at all the other aspects of our health that we know can potentially change when your gut health improves because of the gut-brain axis, so to speak. So we're also going to be looking at changes to cognition and changes to mood and things like that, and really getting a holistic picture of all the effects that these products can be having. I think it's also really notable that this is going to be one of the largest, if not the largest, rigorous gold standard trials ever done on prebiotic interventions. And that's just fundamentally exciting. And the different arms that Scott mentioned is really using WellVine as a foundational ingredient in a variety of other combination formulations. And really understanding what are synergies with other ingredients as well. And with the kind of large data set and the diversity that Scott mentioned, we may also find that different types of people are going to respond differently to WellVine used in other formulations as well. So this may end up really getting us towards this kind of precision prebiotic, this precision kind of therapy in a sense, which is, again, the world hasn't really seen before.
Right.
And you also haven't been able to run 1,000-person trials on supplement products like this.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's a different paradigm in a way, because you know, like you were saying in the beginning, this is about wellness, right? This is about keeping healthy people healthy. It's about optimizing wellness rather than these highly targeted, very kind of small and idiosyncratic trials that you see in drug trials where they're based on an intervention and maybe only one outcome. We're trying to make people happier and healthier overall using gut as the foundational way to do that.
Well, and I'm just going to add my little 2 cents to this. I'm super excited to see the outcomes. In my clinical practice, I've been in practice for over 25 years in functional medicine, and I can tell you there's 2 types of people I see. Health seekers that are looking to solve a problem, and wellness seekers that are looking to go from good to better. This is going to be for both of those categories. But Dr. Jeff, over to you again. This large-scale research, how is this different from the traditional clinical models that you're used to doing? This 5-arm, over 1,000 person. Are you excited, daunted? What goes through your mind?
I mean, this for us, we have a lot of experience running large-scale trials in large, diverse populations, but some of the key things that make us different than how clinical trials have been run for the last 100 years is we take a 100% virtual approach to our studies. Rather, I used to run clinical trials on certain botanicals at UCLA, and we would bring people into our lab, and it takes them out of their natural environment, their natural workflow, and so now I'm studying their stress or their sleep or their mood. Of course they're a little irritated.
It reminds me of the classic sleep lab phenomenon.
That's exactly it. You study people in a sleep lab. Oh, they're not sleeping well. I wonder what's going on. But also, I always thought like the eligible pool of people that I could potentially convince to come to UCLA and be in my trial is maybe the 50,000 people that live right around UCLA or live within a 1-mile driving radius. In our virtual studies, our eligible pool of participants is hundreds of millions of Americans living in all 50 US states. And so that ability to involve diverse people, and to what Scott's point said, in their day-to-day normal life. They're gonna skip a dose, right? They're gonna experience their gut health differently when they're sitting in a hospital staring at a doctor or researcher versus when they're in their home and we're collecting data from them directly through their mobile device or through their laptop. So that allows us to really drill down on the true predictive of effects of these products when they're being purchased by a consumer. One big fallacy of pharma is they run their trials so synthetically and artificially that the trial data looks pretty good, the drug gets approved, and look what happens. The real world data shows it doesn't actually have much benefit. So doctors stop prescribing it, insurance companies drop it from the formulary, and the drug dies. So we're all about making sure that our trials are as naturalistic as possible, so the results are as predictive as possible as to how is this going to help a consumer when they buy this off a shelf.
No, beautiful. I'm just so excited for what's to come. And speaking of predictions, when you now blend this very exciting clinical approach and accessibility to a real variety of people versus that localized scenario that Dr. Jeff was describing, when we're talking about Sonomaceuticals, the mother company, now pairing this very pioneering AI-driven ingredient research, how's that technology sort of shaped WellVine's development in the first place?
As I was saying earlier, we use a complex natural product, right? We're using basically the whole grape except for the sugar in the water, which goes to make wine. So we have fat, carbohydrate, protein, minerals, vitamins. We have all of that in our product, which means we have multiple things going on in there at once. We're also talking about a very complex system in the microbiome with lots of moving parts to it. And because we're not tightly controlling the environment, we don't bring these people in and feed them the product under controlled conditions and doing all of these other things. There are a lot of variables there. It's very difficult to just look at that and kind of make assessments or predictions based on your own experience or on one person's kind of expertise. This is where AI excels. It takes multivariant, kind of very complex inputs and helps you to make predictions and understand where the most likely outcomes are. So that's the way we've used it. We've used it to de-risk what we're doing, to make it more likely that we'll get the kind of outcomes that we think are useful. And we also use it to help us make decisions about what not to do and focus on those things that are the most likely to provide benefit. So it's really just about, playing the odds, right? Yeah. And AI can do it better than a person can.
When you know what you know about AI, garbage in, garbage out phenomenon, right? So as long as you're plugging it in, we ought to do better with that stuff. A little bit
just like the human microbiome.
Right, absolutely. I love the analogy there. A little outside of the realm of science for a moment though, how can brands that use WellVine or think about using WellVine in their product end up leveraging this data for claims, marketing, packaging, because it's kind of endless?
Well, I think that once we, have the results of the trial in hand, right, then those possibilities become much, much larger. And as we were saying before, it's not just about a single claim. So it's not just about saying, hey, it supports good gut health. We'll know that it supports gut health, but it also does it, again, in a real world environment. And it also helps with other lifestyle measures, whether that's cognitive health, whether it's mental health and wellness and perception and mood. All of those things are things that we'll be able to talk about in the context of the product that you couldn't talk about in a normal clinical trial where you're just looking at a blood marker or something like that. So it really does speak to, I think, what people want from wellness products, which is they want a product that they enjoy using, that helps with specific health outcomes, but also improves their day-to-day life experience, right? And we'll be able to talk about that in a proven and intelligent way.
And to add to what Scott said, in the trial that we're doing, we also have a tremendous opportunity to collect these consumer insights that Scott mentioned.
Right.
So it's not just in a vacuum, the ingredient moves the needle on some health outcomes. It doesn't matter if people don't like the taste or something about the product doesn't sit well with them. So we're able to, so if I'm a brand and I get to look at this data and you can show me that the taste was pleasant, people were willing to pay money for it, they had good net promoter score ratings, they were willing to recommend, here's all the free response testimonials that we're gonna collect, and we can mine that with natural language processing and find all the sentiment data as well. I think that really helps the marketers of a brand know that when I incorporate this ingredient in, yes, I can get the claims, but I should know the product's gonna do well. And furthermore, I think to your point about, again, data sets this large, this diverse, it does not exist in the wellness space. Right. So being able to also mine that with AI and be able to tell a brand, hey, you're telling me your core consumer is older women, and they tend to maybe not have the healthiest lifestyle, and that's why they're gravitating towards wellness. Well, when I looked at the data in the trial, the cohort of individuals, these formulations responded best. So that's why I may nudge you towards trying this formulation of WellVine, for example. And those are just additional ways to have this kind of precision ingredient that I don't think many ingredient suppliers really operate or think about or have the data to inform.
I agree. I think it's the idea of deliver on promise and personalized medicine, sort of my area, is overly used, a little too loose. It's deliver on promise for you, N of one, right? And it has to work for you in the way that is best for you. I brilliantly said. Love what you're doing at Radicle Science. Love what you're doing at WellVine. Exciting advancements are happening in this prebiotic space. I think probiotics are probably on their way out. I think we've been irresponsible with them. Won't get into detail there, but prebiotics, they're up and coming. They have to be evidence-based. Where can people go to stay up to date on Radicle Science and also up to date on WellVine? So for research, they can go to radiclescience.com.
Yeah, you can go to www.radiclescience.com. It's spelled R-A-D-I-C-L-E. It sounds radical because what we're doing is very innovative, but the way we spell radical means the root of the plant. It's the first root to come out from the seed. And you can learn more about what we do. You can sign up to be a citizen scientist in one of our trials, get free products, get tools to track your health. We give you all your data back at the end. We unblind you to what you're taking at the end, and you may be the first person that looks like someone like you to contribute data to medical research, which makes the results most relevant and useful to you and others like you in your community.
I love it. And Scott, WellVine?
WellVine is just like it sounds, WellVine.com. Go there, you can see all of our papers, links to the publications that we have, as well as a couple of symposiums that we've done where we've invited researchers to come in and talk about their work, so you can look at those videos and get the latest.
Guys, thank you so much for all you're doing to bring evidence-based, natural health and wellness to the masses. You guys stay well. Thank you.